Now, let me take you to something else which we started with, but which will probably have even more impact. Because the war, for example, against, if you want to call it that, corruption will take time. But the one that most people will be affected by is this issue of employment generation, creating jobs for the vast army of currently unemployed people across the country. What's your take on that? How do you think that should go?
Well, so I would say, first of all, that I've always said, we don't even have enough people to build the new Nigeria. In other words, as we get on the journey of building a new Nigeria, we will not only have full employment, we will have deficiencies, vacancies that will have to be filled by many people outside the country. Why? It's there. It's today. Let's remember two things about jobs. Is that jobs are usually created every time you're solving a problem. And every time you are producing anything the eyes can see, jobs are created. So every time you see a pothole on the road, it's not just that the pothole is bad for cars. Somebody who should have filled that pothole is not being employed to do so. Every time there is no power, so whatever it is, you turn on your taps without a borehole and water doesn't come out, there are people who should have been employed to make that happen. You're looking for a house, you can't find one. There are people that should have built houses to the point where it became affordable. So when you look at the number of houses to be built, the number of roads to be built, the number of value to be created, products to be made, right? You will see that Nigeria has the capacity to be able to fully employ.
So you're not one of those who believe that there are just too many of us.
No. We don't even have enough people to be able to build a new nation. And when you look at where we are in the midst of Africa, almost literally right in the center of Africa, and literally in the midst of the world, we can actually become the logistics and production capital of the world. Because anything you produce in Nigeria will get to the United Kingdom in half the time that it will take for you to get it from Shanghai to the United Kingdom. If anything you produce in Nigeria and you ship through Apapa seaport will get to New York in half the time. It takes 22 hours for a ship to go from Apapa to Ghana. It takes 51 days for it to go from Shanghai. Yet Shanghai is literally the production factory of the world. Nigeria can be that production factory. But let me quickly just say to you what the problem is. And this is what we have to do about it. There are 4 things that we're going to need to do. Because let me put it this way. Until you have government that works for all, things will not work for everyone. And until you have things that are working, then people will not find work. Because businesses will not grow. And businesses are the main engine for job creation. Mostly, okay? You can have government doing well through security and a few other things, but businesses are the most important things. For us, we want to see businesses prosper and people get jobs. Jobs that are fulfilling, good jobs so that people are joyfully employed, not just gainfully or painfully employed. So there are 4 things we want to do to make that happen. Number 1, we must cut down the cost of running governance. Much of the money that is required to trigger and activate and accelerate the engine of Nigeria, the productive engine of Nigeria, is being wasted in not only what the things that we can see, like just blatant waste, like one governor traveling with 30 cars, and things like that. Ministers traveling with 2 brand new Jeeps of the same class, like as if one has ever broken down, things like that. I mean, much of that is but then beyond that, we also see that there are wastages in just the way things are being done. I mean, we know these things. Procurement in Nigeria is probably one of the most ineffective ever. I've never seen any nation that buys 100 units of something at higher than the cost of buying 1 unit on the marketplace. So we know that again, like you say, corruption drives that. We've got to, we will make sure that we reduce wastages throughout governance. And the second thing that we're going to do to make that happen is that we're going to reform government, so that government becomes an institution where the people are there to serve and they get the joy of service, where service excellence and service delivery is driven. They see the people as their customers and not just constituents that they can lord over. I guess the third most important thing is that we've got to restructure our economic base. and turn our local governments into productive centers where they become what you would call a special economic zone or industrial hubs, like the way you would see Agbara or Ikeja, as Obafemi Awolowo, one of the great leaders of our time,
envisaged that
time. What we need to do is get each of every one of the 774 local governments to become industrial hubs, so that whatever happens, and whether it's natural resources, farmland or mineral resources beneath the land, or just the human resources within those communities, within the local government, all they have to do is come to the local government center, and then you can package, prepare, process, and get it ready, especially for international markets. And why do I say international markets first? Because I keep saying whatever is not good enough for the rest of the world should not be good enough for Nigeria. So even if it's for local consumption, let's get it to export quality. And so you would see that as we begin to do this, and every single farmland begins to get attention, because the local government is trying to say, what do we have in this area? Every single minefield that can be had will get, whether it's minerals of metal or gemstones or whatever it is, they would begin to find a way to the top. And that itself will create job opportunities, because there's going to be huge investment going into every local government. Now, this for me is what real restructuring means. Restructuring the economic base so that we are no longer oil and import dependent. We are now generating revenue through investment and opportunities, job opportunities in every local government. And the only thing that has been stopping this so far is really the fact that the amount of revenue that comes to the state is abysmal. It's 13%. And much of the time, nothing comes to the community that you take things from, and yet there's environmental degradation and nothing to come back to make the community better. So most communities don't even want you to come and touch their resources, right? Because nothing comes back to them. What we are saying is we're going to work with the legislature to make sure that we're able to restructure our constitution to ensure that 20% of whatever it is that comes out of any revenue, especially
from a particular community,
goes back to that community. 20% goes to the local government, 20% goes to the state, and the federal government works with about 40%. That is something that is going to cause every community to ultimately just begin to develop. And we're not just going to be handing money and dashing money to people, and especially not politicians. What we're going to do is to make sure that we're using something like a Shopee kind of structure to ensure that we have a group of people who are people of integrity, people who can make sure that when you say we're going to do something, we get it done. And we're going to use that to drive an infrastructure development fund in each of those areas. So the 20% is to build roads, is to make sure power gets to the communities, is to build schools, which is, education infrastructure, is to build hospitals. And that happens for the community, and that happens in the local government. And guess what? Every community begins to say, yes, we have gold. Oh, we have...
because they can see what the benefits that come from.
And of course, every infrastructure development will be done, especially direct labor, will be taken from the community itself. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to ease up the pressure of thinking that you have to go to the city to be able to get a job. So all of a sudden, with the model that we have to restructuring, you're going to release what is beneath, what has been kept for so long and literally wasting away. We're going to release it for the benefit of the people, and now there'll be economic opportunity, investment opportunity, job opportunity, and that's how we're going to get this done. The fourth and the most important one is we have to reorient our people. We have to change the mindset of our people and the value system that it seems like we have lost over the years. Those values that say things like make a positive impact on everyone that you meet and everywhere you go. Be a solution provider and not a part of the problem to be solved. Be a role model worthy of emulation. Do the right thing at all times regardless of who is doing the wrong thing. Care and show respect to all through your words and your actions. Value time and make the best use of it. Things like that. We're going to put them back into the communities and making sure that using media, using radio, news, and drive them into the curriculum of our schools, ethics, leadership, and make sure that when a child is going to school, when on Monday morning that child gets to hear the same values that his father or his mother is going to hear at the office, and it's going to be something that. So it's those four things, and we believe that when you save money and you activate, you can then invest in agriculture and security and power and infrastructure and empowering our people through education and all of that. And each one of those things that need to be done are huge job creation opportunities. Currently today, as we see, agriculture is hiring about 60% of the workforce of Nigeria. And yet it is only about 35% of our agricultural land mass that is being cultivated. So we will drive agricultural revolution, and that itself will increase the number of people that are on the, working either directly on the farmlands or through the agricultural value chain. But it's not just that. It's also, like I said, security. We want to see not just our police force. We want to see that ramped up to about 1.5 million policemen that will serve Nigeria. We want to see, power and just the whole, not just.
Would you set a state police, for example?
Oh, yes.
Would that be part of the structure of the 1.5 million you're making reference to?
Oh, absolutely. And what we're looking at is to get to a point where states can themselves fund the police force to about 20,000 policemen per state, okay? And that would complement the federal police that we also will have. Just the same way we have it in many of the nations that we love to go to, travel to, when you have CIA, you've got FBI that are federal, but then you've also got the state, and then you've got the county police, which is like your local government or local areas, community police, and those things are very important. It's important that the states are able to add value to their own people, so that when people actually vote you in, you stop pointing at the federal and saying that that's the reason why you are not performing. But we've seen something like that happen recently, or not too recently ago, when the governor of Benue State heard or got a tip-off that there was going to be a security, an invasion by terrorists, herdsmen at that time. And to cut the long story short, we heard it on television, how he picked up the phone, called the state commissioner of police. He said he couldn't do anything until he gets the IG to give him an instruction. He called the IG, nothing came until that place was attacked. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to make the governor the chief security officer of the state, give him not only the responsibility, give him the authority, give him the resources. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. So state police is important.